Okay, hope everybody's okay. The meeting will come to order. The secretary is working tonight in Wellesley, so I'll be taking the minutes as well, so go easy on me, okay? All right. This is a copy of everything that you should have for tonight. I know you've had it on your emails and you've looked at it. The first thing is if we could take a look at the minutes of April 30th. That's basically all the changes that we had made, but I want you to let's look at it one more time, see if it's okay, and then we'll have a motion for approval, all right?
Dino, just one thing, at the end of the meeting before it got adjourned,
Yeah.
we did talk about the meeting tonight and about the committee, the firms to
Yes.
do on that, and that should be
Okay.
put in there, and that
Okay, yep.
and that Maureen had said she had a badge question and gave her the name of the Aaron Associates and took that information. So
Yeah.
that should just be in there so that
Sure, as a statement,
that
okay. Yes, okay.
we won't just be talking about it tonight without any.
Yep. I think it had it someplace, anyway. Okay, anything else? Hi, Chief.
It's Jim, and just if I could, Jim Herron's working the shift, so
Okay.
they're tied up. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he's going to make
I
it.
just said that the secretary is working tonight too.
Okay. Just so you know.
Okay, so we'll add that. Anything else?
Otherwise, I move they be accepted as amended.
Seconded. Motion by Richard, seconded by Scott.
Yep.
Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Dino,
Yes,
does anybody know what happened to Mike Walsh?
he's sitting over, oh, no, you mean, he's here sitting, but I don't know anything else, what happened. Yeah.
Mike,
Yeah, okay. All right, so what I want to try to do tonight is, and I really appreciate, the good work that everybody's doing. Last meeting, we were able to do a lot, move forward, and, once again, our goal is to the end of the process, send three to five candidates unranked to the Board of Selectmen, and then they'll do their due diligence and all that. Maureen and Jody have continued to work on the job description, so what I would like to do tonight, if we could, is take a look at the job description, once again, working with the chief, and then finalizing that, and then I believe a posting that we could have. So if we could do that, it would be great. Jody?
So there's the full version of the job posting on one page. And it's entitled out at the top, so you can find it.
Yep.
And then on the second page, we have two versions of a shortened job posting. I was really trying to get the second one down to 100 words because I know there's a max somewhere that we have to get to of 100 words. So that one still needs a little bit of work. So perhaps we should go through the
Sure.
full
Yeah,
job posting first.
sure.
We're all working off the same page.
Yes.
What page? What's the title on the top of the page?
It's titled Full Chief of Police Job Posting
Got it.
Description.
Thank you, Jim.
You got it? Okay. Does everybody have that?
So the first paragraph reads, "The town of Milford, located 28 miles west of Boston," I just added that in recently, I don't know if anyone has an objection to that, "is seeking qualified applicants for the position of police chief. The Milford Police Department served a diverse, vibrant community with a population of 28,000 residents. This role is responsible for the administration and management of the town's police department with an annual operating budget of," number to be filled in. "The Milford Police Department is comprised of a professional staff of X number and sworn officers and X number of civilian staff." So So I think we should just like stop there before we go any
Yeah.
further, see if anyone has any questions or additions or deletions. Because
Jody.
this one, we can have it
Yeah,
a longer,
yep, on that, we should probably, I think the chief, the budget is what, July, 7.4, something like that?
No, this year it's less, excuse me for a minute.
Yeah, take your time.
Jody, is there a reason we're looking at several, or could you explain the reason we're looking at several ads?
some places that we're going to potentially post, they have almost a limitless amount, and there's no cost to it. Then others you can have a little bit more space. And then there was the one that's, I'm trying to get down to 100 words. Maureen, what was the name of that?
So one of the postings, it's you pay $100 for the first 100 words and then $100 for every block of 100 words after. So just
Right.
keeping in mind that there's a cost. The Milford Daily News, I'm not sure what they're going to charge, but they are
Okay.
probably the most expensive.
Are we aiming for one ad?
No.
No, it would be dependent on whether there's a cost involved or whether there's,
Why would we do that? Why would we have several different ads?
it's an option. It's not a requirement.
Several different places, I think.
No, I understand that.
So I can answer
Yeah,
that.
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
So typically, you do post in multiple places because people may look in one versus another.
I got it. I'm just concerned, why would we have a different ad depending on the place that we were going?
Just based on the size and the cost related to the size. And each one would have a link to the full description on the town's website.
Okay, wouldn't it be the goal to come up with one ad and have that same link?
Mr. Chairman, if I may?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Dan.
So I think.
No, 1 second, Scott.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dan, finish your thoughts. Okay.
I'm done. I want somebody to explain.
I mean, for me, my view on this, and anytime I've done any job postings, you effectively had two versions of the job posting at a minimum. One would be for digital advertising, because you're unlimited with your wording, or there's the ability to have a live link that the individual can click on and then get further information. Versus in a print, so for instance, Milford Daily News, there's a print as well as a digital version of Milford Daily News. The print that you can pick up on newsstands, there's no link you can click on where you're going to get information, and in many cases there's a limit from a cost perspective from space. So you have to then pare that down. More information generally better, but when you're limited on print, you only have so many words, you only have so much space because of cost, and you can't have a live link because you can't click on a newspaper, it doesn't work. So that's why you generally, anytime I've ever posted anything from our positions, you generally will have two versions. And then it's also, depending upon the publication, their formats will dictate how you position things. So as an example, if you post something on an Indeed website, which is an electronic job search website, versus a LinkedIn posting, they're going to have different formats, they're going to have different setups. So as a result, though the content will be effectively the same, the way the wording is set up, the format, how we position it, because of the digital medium versus the print one, as well as what the digital medium is going to vary slightly. I wouldn't say that the content or the message, it shouldn't vary dramatically from one to the next, but I think it's going to be important that you're going to have that written in two different formats.
No matter what you do, if you're interested in the job and you want to apply, you have to go to the website, which will tell you what to do. And if that's the case, that you have to do that, why would the ad be any different?
Because job posting is a part of marketing. So you market differently in different mediums.
I'm not marketing to anybody. I'm not getting any differently to anybody. I'm not trying to be argumentative. I don't think it makes any sense, but let's go ahead.
Chief?
But even within that short ad, you should put a link. Words are words.
Oh, yeah.
So you can print the link, and anyone, will know if they're adept with the computer. They can't cut and paste and go to the link simply because they can't click on it. I think it's a matter of you put something there so they can get the longer version. Right? Just cut, paste, there you are. Welcome home. You answer your question is $6.7 million.
Okay. And Chief, the number of professional staff and civilian staff?
There's 49 sworn. There are 12 full-time, 5 part-time civilian staff, and then there are 25 part-time auxiliary special officers.
Any part-time?
25.
And they would not fall under the sworn staff?
They're sworn, but they're part-time sworn.
Okay, but I can include
Yes.
them with that 49, that's an addition to 49?
Correct. But you wouldn't want to classify them as full-time. That's the
Okay, so it's
distinction.
part-time.
So Chief, on that, right, 49, I knew that. 12 full-time, 5 part-time, and then 25 auxiliary officers.
Correct. So your dispatches, you have, well, actually, so your dispatches and then your custodial staff, secretarial staff, et cetera. So then you have 5 part-time dispatchers, you have 5 part-time dispatchers.
Okay,
And then from there, you get into the part-time police officers.
okay. Go ahead, Jody. Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. you had a
Okay, just
question?
one quick thing. I think, and it's a small piece, but when it says, in the line that says, Town's Police Department with an annual operating budget of $6.7 million, something to just to notate that that's which fiscal year that is, because as the chief just alluded to, that budget is fluid. It changes from year to year.
So that was
goes up.
for fiscal year 19.
Is it 19? Is it
FY
20?
'20, because it actually came down. So it's FY '20.
Okay, good point. Yeah, thanks, Chief. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Dan. Okay, Jody?
Any other concerns on that first paragraph?
No, not the first paragraph, but
The next goes on, the ideal candidate will lead with integrity, strength, and compassion, building trusted relationships within the community and the police department. The police chief will develop and integrate new technologies, techniques, practices, and programs to improve effectiveness of police administration in the town through the creation and administration of model community policing programs and activities.
How's that, everyone? Yeah,
I think the message that's delivered, and I mean, again, a job posting is to make potential qualified applicants aware of the position, give a brief summary, which I think this does, of what the community is and some, sort of high-level components of the type of person we're looking for. It really, I do view job postings as marketing, and that's ultimately, we're trying to entice candidates to
Yes.
apply for our position. That's by definition what marketing will do. I do think this sort of encapsulates, it gives a brief overview of the town. It talks about the budget components, it talks about the size of the staff, all of which are important. It talks about some of the intangible and tangible qualities we're looking for. So again, for a job posting, just so I can keep it in context for me, what medium would this be? What format is this for? Based on the research that you and Maureen have done?
That would be the digital, the longer,
This is-
expanded version, like in Indeed or one of those.
Okay. Indeed, Glassdoor. Okay.
okay, so second paragraph, okay. Go ahead, Jody. Oh,
I have
Donna?
a comment. What about including something about public safety? Or is that implied? Improve the effectiveness of police administration? And ensure public safety or improve the effectiveness of public safety?
I think it's implied with the role, and it's in the job description. That's my view on it. It's an overview of the quality. I think police chief sort of, for me anyways, it sort of implies that, and it's part of the, when they click on it, it's going to give the full job description. That would include absolutely certainly far more detail.
Richard?
I think that with any job posting, what you want to do is be short and succinct. Get the important facts out there. Somebody meets the qualifications, so they go on, then they're going to go deeper. And if, we haven't got to that yet, but just, my thought is that in the last paragraph, we have the preferred candidate will have a master's degree. To me, that should be somewhere up in there ahead of time, just because that could be a game breaker for a lot of people. They see the master's degree, they're gonna say, well, I don't have it, so therefore, they're not gonna go further. So, that's just my thought.
Okay. Chief, you had a comment?
Where you place it, I'm okay.
Okay.
They can't read full
Yeah.
paragraphs.
Probably don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay. Okay, Joe, yes, Donna.
What about the inclusion of a opening date and a closing date for the posting? Would that be beneficial?
Well, I think, not to get ahead, but the only thing that is time sensitive right now is to try to get it in the Beacon. Because that's a main thing in Massachusetts, where every city and town reviews that. So that now the Beacon, we have to give that information to Attorney Villani on May 20th, and then he'll put it in the Beacon for June. So that's the only thing that, that we have to get this ready for. Later on, when we talk about this, a couple of the firms that I would like to bring in so that you can interview these firms, we can talk about some other areas where what the firms could give us as far as ideas and all that. But that's basically what we're trying to do here, is to start off with the Beacon. And then, if the committee decides to hire a firm, then we can obtain information from them, their guidance and all that, on where it should be placed and whatever the case may be. Yes,
How do we put the ad in the Beacon
yeah.
when we don't have the last line? And that is, go to the website and we're gonna tell you what to do. What to do is, it's got to be in the website when this appears in the Beacon.
Right, I think it'll be a link to the job description, right?
That's not all, though. You're gonna tell them where to send their
Oh, yeah,
their
no, yes,
resumes,
absolutely, yeah.
Exactly where
Yeah.
to send their resume.
Right.
And all this stuff can be finalized on the 21st, because all the resumes, if it's okay with the committee, will go to the selectman's office. And Attorney Villani will document everything, nothing will be opened. It's gotta be a clean process. If we have a firm, then those applications will be given to the firm, and then he'll do the...
Right now, we're trying to beat the deadline for the Beacon. Is that
Yes.
it? And it will appear when in the Beacon?
It comes out like June, July, right, Chief? The Beacon, yeah.
But what lag time do we have, so we then
Oh.
have the process, the website, it's got to be up and running
Right,
when this first appears in the Beacon.
yeah. If we have all the information by May 20th, that will suffice the time to get it into the Beacon.
Into the Beacon.
Yes.
But when the guy reads it in the Beacon, he goes to the website, and if it's not there, what does he do then?
Mr. Chairman, our next meeting isn't until May
21st,
21st.
yeah. Well, that would be tied in with the link, right? When they look at the job posting, it would, yeah. Yeah, we have some information. Go ahead.
No, so I think I understand what you're asking, because you had talked about a more lengthy process the last time that we were here. In order to make the deadline for the Beacon, it would just be that candidates should send their resumes to this particular time by whatever deadline is determined by this committee.
But we
That would
have to
be
establish that before the guy reads this in the Beacon.
Correct, that's the piece that's missing.
Right.
Once they get to the link, it will just have the full job description. There won't be any more additional information that you had sort of mentioned in some of the earlier meetings, because we're not prepared for that, and that would also be included whether or not you want to use a search firm in that process.
Then how do we tell the guy who read the Beacon what to do if we don't have the search firm in place and we don't have the standards in place?
The person who reads it in the Beacon will know that they need to send their resume to the selectman's office, and that would be...
No. We might pick a search firm.
Correct, but for the Beacon, because that's not been decided yet, the two deadlines are conflicting right now.
We're gonna send them to a different location, is what you're telling me.
I don't, so what I do know is the Beacon has an earlier deadline
Got
than
the
the search
deadline
firms.
part. We're gonna have a separate process for the Beacon.
Yes, and actually, one of the search firms requires that the town handle the Beacon separately. They don't get involved in that as
Okay.
well.
And the website will be up when? With all the information for the guy that reads it in the Beacon.
The job itself, we can post as soon as it's been approved.
Right.
Anything beyond that is whenever the committee provides it.
I think you can do that. Here's the Beacon, we got a job
one
for
second.
you.
Go ahead then.
But when you go, then what do?
I mean, that's for the, I'm not sure what the committee wants, what else you want. You had talked about a certain checklist and those types of things.
Whatever, we haven't determined that, is my
Correct.
point. So I read this, I'm interested in the job, I read in the Beacon, I go to the website, there's nothing there. What's he do, pick
Well,
up
the
the
website
phone?
will have the job description, and they will know that they need to send their resume in. If there's
Right.
anything beyond that,
But the resume has got to be inclusive enough so you can be rated. Therefore, you have to tell them what the standards are. And we don't have that yet.
Chief and then Scott. Chief?
You can't have different deadlines. Not with the
You
internet.
can't have different deadlines.
No, as far as
Right.
submitting your resume, because the internet, so I'm a candidate,
Yeah.
and now I go on and I Google, and the first one that comes up on my screen is the Beacon. Whoops, I missed the deadline, because the deadline's shorter than the deadlines that you're gonna put on Indeed, and you're gonna put on other things. So I'm not even gonna go into those other sites to see whether or not I can meet the new deadline, the next deadline. So you can't have multiple deadlines. You have to establish a deadline based upon all of the different areas you're going to. And it's not the job description that you're posting the full announcement. Because that's what they're gonna work off of, my humble opinion. But you can't have different deadlines based upon where you're posting the job.
no, I agree with that completely. The deadline shouldn't change, but it sounds if you want to make the deadline for submission to the Beacon in order to get the May 20th, that needs to go in there. And you can extend the deadline to whatever you want it to be on all of them. This committee can decide that. The search firm doesn't
Yeah.
need to make that decision.
Donna, then Julie. Donna?
Yeah, so it goes back to my question, is included in this job posting, are we going to include an opening date and a closing date so it's clear to anyone who wants to apply what their time frame is for application?
If it can be done. If it can be done, sure.
As long as the last line says go to the website to get that information. But what I'm saying is, we don't have that information.
Right, well, we don't have it now, but we
Right.
can decide upon that. However, we can put on the top line, opening date, closing date, and they see it right from the start, so it's kind of in their face, and they know up front what their time frame is.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead then.
You know,
Yeah.
if we miss this deadline for the Beacon, when's the next deadline?
I'm not sure, but it may be August, September.
Oh, that far out?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. All right.
I think the one, Dan, for June is good until July 12th, the length, you know?
So it's not monthly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Scott.
So, to the chief's point, we're not gonna have different windows of when the position is posted. One of the things that we have to determine as a committee is what is the job posting time frame? It being listed in different places, the Beacon, Indeed, Glassdoor, Milford Daily News, we can market it in different places based on their publication timeline. So if we chose as an example, the Beacon, we said it comes out monthly, okay, so.
Every 2 months, I think.
Every
Right,
2
Chief?
months.
Every 2 months.
Yeah, every month or every 2 months, whatever their timeline is. That doesn't mean that our window is that timeline. We would have one window of timeline, but, and I'm, as an example for illustrative purposes only. From June 1st, we decided as a committee from June 1st to July 15th is our window of timeline. Our first publication, because that's the due date for the Beacon, is we've got to submit that to the Beacon on the 21st. The online components, it may be, we've got to submit it today, and then it comes out tomorrow. Now, those are instantaneous. So that would hit June 1st. It then hits the Beacon whenever that comes out. It hits Milford Daily News when that comes out. Each publication is going to come out in whatever their timeline is. It's up to us to decide what our timeline is and who we want to send it to. The window remains exactly the same.
Chief?
My view, and
Yeah.
accept it or not, I don't think there's a window. I think it's you advertise and there's a closing, period. Because if you say from June 1st and you're not advertising at the IACP until July, you know, now the person's looking going, what did I miss? You know, I mean, or did they mess up? So my thing is, you know, you set a deadline, and you set that deadline for every one of those forums.
Yeah.
The person that Googles this, the person that gets it, whichever way they receive it, I don't think they much care when you opened it, or when you decided. They know when you want everything in. So that's just my suggestion. I think you set a deadline date, but the deadline date has to encompass all of the areas you're gonna post.
Sure.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're creating havoc.
Like, if I could just say something, like the Beacon is, you know, is widely used by cities and towns. It's important. People look at that. Now, let's say we have a couple of firms in, hopefully, let's say May 21st, and we talk to these companies. They may tell us, you know, we'll do the advertising, we'll do this, we do that. If we feel that the Beacon is important, right, then we have to kind of deal with that. Or we could, if we didn't want to do that, I guess we don't have to put it in to make it clean, we don't have to put it in the Beacon. We could interview the firms on May 21st, and we have a couple of firms that I think would be really, really good for this committee to utilize once we choose someone, a firm. Maybe the Beacon doesn't have to be, but, you know, cities and towns do look at that. Town hall people, city officials, employees, and all that stuff, they look at the Beacon. So I don't know how we could do it.
Whether these firms want it mailed to them or not, they will accept the contract if it comes to us.
Yes.
Scott.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry, Richard.
No, I was just gonna say, I agree with Chief. Any postings that I've looked at, you know, in the paper, just every once in a while, I see what's out there. You never see any start date. There's a deadline.
Right.
July 15th, July 30th. That's when if you've got the ad in the paper or on the website, you're putting it out there because you want to be active at that point. So anybody that sees that is gonna say, okay, and they're gonna say, well, when's my deadline? If it's July 30th, then they say, okay, I got till July 30th to get it in. And I agree with the Chief, and I think that they don't need a start date.
no. For clarity's sake, let me reiterate what I just said. We have to decide the start date.
Right.
It's not published. I
No.
agree. That would be ridiculous, because the person that reads it on the 21st of June says it started on June 1st is going to go, well, why am I going to apply? It's been out there for 3 weeks. We, which is what I stated earlier, have to establish the opening date and a closing
Yeah,
date.
right.
You only publish, absolutely, the deadline. In fact, actually, I would tell you, we don't even, when we initially do this, for some of these publications, we don't have to publish an end date. Because if we publish it out there and we say, okay, great, and if you look at a lot of job postings that are out there, some do have deadlines, many do not, simply because you may get a ton of candidates in the first week, you might not. That job posting, there are some job postings that sit out there for days, weeks, months, in some cases, years. So you want to be very careful. We would want to be very careful on the close end. We would have to decide when we want to cut it off. It doesn't necessarily have to be published for that. We have to decide that as a board. But as far as the start date, that's an internal decision. That's not something. Yes, I agree with you. It doesn't go in the posting. You don't say we're going to start posting this on June 1st. But we can choose to either have a deadline and have that listed, or not have it listed. There's nothing that says that we have to. And again, if you look on a lot of websites for any type of job posting, it's a split. Some have an end date, some do not.
The Chief, then Jody. Chief?
I think you have to have an end date. Otherwise, Rick Filani's going to receive a resume after resume after resume after resume, and you're already past the process. I just say that respectfully, and I agree with what Scott said. You know, it's one thing you're out there in, you know, private enterprise. You know, they know what came in, and that's what goes in the shredder. So
the other point of discussion could be to solve the issue. Let's say we don't put it in the Beacon. We, have the firms come in on May 21st, because and we'll get into that. It's quite, the one I spoke to was Badge Quest. And when you read it, I know you've read it already probably, they're pretty sharp. They've been doing this for a long time. Massachusetts, hundreds of jobs. When the chief was hired, Badge Quest was involved. So we could come to the conclusion that maybe we don't put it in the Beacon.
Why not put it in the Beacon?
Just these opening dates and deadlines and all that.
That's gonna happen no matter what.
Because you're going to touch the same grouping. The Beacon is focused on, those individuals that are elected officials in the Commonwealth, and then people that are in administrative positions that said, "Oh, please send that to me."
I just want an explanation. Why not the Beacon?
No. So that's.
Is there anything that eliminates the Beacon here? I haven't heard anything.
And here's why. So your audience is very limited. Number one. Number two, in other words, you're not really going down below department heads, and it's those department heads that said to the Beacon, "Please send it to me." So then you work from there. Your audience, who you're actually reaching out to, you're going to get those same people through the Mass Chiefs of Police blasting it out to
Same
every
other
police chief.
Okay, I got it.
You're going to hit your target audience through other avenues. I received the Beacon, I scanned through it. If something catches my attention, okay. Other than that,
Thank you.
I wouldn't hang my hat on the Beacon.
Jody?
If the committee chooses to use the Beacon, then perhaps we can do it without putting a deadline in there. That way, if other postings come out later on, whether we do it ourselves or through one of these organizations, that I would assume that that's just, the Beacon is out there. Is that an actual hard copy?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine people will see that like months down the road and then keep applying because they'll figure there are already some good candidates in.
Richard, and then Dan.
Yeah, what the chief is saying, what sounds to me is that, what I'm getting from it is that the Beacon is very limited, and we're, spinning our wheels here on trying to meet their deadline, and everything else isn't. And my feeling is at this point that I don't think we need to be in the Beacon from what the chief is saying, and we're going to cut. It's not like we're missing a segment out there that we want. So my feeling at this point would be that we forget about the Beacon and focus on getting the job description, what we want it to have, and get it out to the other ones that we want. And I'd make a motion to that at this point.
Like it. Second.
Motion by Richard that we don't utilize the Beacon at this point. Seconded by Donato. Just give the secretary a chance here.
But I think it also encompasses what Richard said, and that is to get everything in place before we go.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Looks like unanimous. Okay. Oh,
I'm opposed.
okay.
Thank you.
So it's 7 in favor, 1 opposed. Okay. 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 Jody, you want to go back to this job description?
Sure, and I think at this point, if there's not a rush to go into the Beacon, the other thing that we need to consider is that, what we're going through right now is just finalizing what we think a job posting should look like.
Sure.
But these other organizations may change that,
Right.
come up with their own suggestions.
Yeah.
So I was going to say,
Go
part
ahead.
of my research and in speaking with that gentleman from Badge Quest in particular, but also from NERA, as Dr. Howard suggested, postings are part of their offerings, I think, and so they can also review, they can make recommendations. So I think it's up to this board that if we don't have that
Right.
urgency
Yeah,
with
rush,
the
right.
Beacon and we took that
Yeah.
off the table, now there's time to, if you want to wait and let that company come in first.
Okay.
We just, in that case, we just feed them general information they make suggestions, we approve it or disapprove it, and they move forward with everything. Is that generally what happens?
Kind of.
So I believe so. One of the things, I don't
Go
want to
ahead.
take yours,
No,
I know
no,
Dino
no.
had talked about maybe having them come in and being able
Right.
to ask them the questions directly
Okay.
so that we get a very
I like
clear
that. Thank
understanding
you.
of
Yeah.
what they do and what they don't, and that way
Yeah.
you can decide where to use them and not.
Yeah. I talked to Maureen last week. She called Mr. Pomeroy at Badge Quest. I spoke to the gentleman yesterday for about 15, 20 minutes. And I had forgotten that we used them 20 years ago. I was quite impressed by what he told me. And as far as this proposal, matter of fact, the chief said the same thing at the last meeting. This basically said, you know, if you read this, it's quite comprehensive. Marketing, recruiting, department questionnaire, written responses, valuation, an assessment, background information. And then the other thing he said was, well, I said to him, I said, you know, we're in the process, we're moving pretty well now. We'll probably like to have you come in on May 21st if possible. Call me back today. He says, I could make it May 21st. I'll come in, talk to the committee. If the committee has questions, forward them to me, so when I come in on the 21st, I can expound on those. And he says, basically, we can set it up any way that's best for the committee. Whatever the goals and objectives of the committee are, I can incorporate that in this proposal. Yeah, Dan?
If we have a general consensus that we would be interested in doing something like that, could we just move to that and start looking at that proposal and
Sure.
the costs and so? I'm not telling you to do that, I'm saying
Yeah.
if that's, I have an interest in doing something
Sure.
like that, but it doesn't make sense
Right.
to focus our time on all of this if they're going to
Sure.
perfect it for us.
And yeah, Chief?
My only concern, Dan, is then we're gonna go right back through this again with them.
Right.
As opposed to sending those folks, if we agree on some, even generally, on the longer one and the shorter one and the mid-size one, and we send that to them, they then can come in with recommendations. Because
Right.
we're telling them, look, this is what we want
But that's weeks away.
as a minimum.
Right, but I'm saying, well, let's take our hour or two this evening, focus on what they're all about and the cost, and whether it makes sense to get them in here. Because if it costs $200,000, obviously, we're not gonna do it.
Yeah, no.
If it's a $10,000 process, absolutely, I'm interested.
On the
It's
last,
in here.
on the
And
last,
then
yeah, on the last page, Dan, is the cost.
Right.
And he even said, you know, we can talk about that, whatever. I mean, it just, I was
Take
quite
care of all
impressed.
the ads and everything.
Yeah,
Yes.
We
Well,
don't need to do that.
If you look at this from Badge Quest, and Dan, you might want to look, there's I'm not sure which page it's on, but they give a timeline type of thing, just as, and it's just, I'm sure, just, you know, for
Yeah.
discussion's sake, but let me find it, I had it. It's towards the end of the packet, and they had a timeline, and they basically, in what they say, realistic timetable
4 to 5 months. Right?
recruitment and selection of new police chiefs, 4 to 5 months.
Yeah.
They're saying like week one would be meet with the screening committee. Week 2 to 6 is advertise and recruit for the position. What the chief is saying, and I think we should do before we jump to that, is we're gonna need this job description. I think we need to tonight determine and vote on that what we want.
Sure.
We have that. Then if we decide that we're gonna let them advertise, but this is the copy. We don't want them to do the copy.
No.
We've got the copy. So I think before we jump to your part, Dan, I think we really need to hammer down and nail down this job description that's gonna be advertised.
Sure.
I agree.
Because I think we've done a damn good job on that job description.
Yeah, no.
The
so I
chief's
think
assistants.
Let's get that,
Maureen
because
and Joe.
regardless of whether we do it,
Yeah.
or Badge Quest, or Nara and Associates, whoever it is, we need that.
Yep.
So, we completed this piece, so are we going to then, and I just want to make sure, I'm just trying to see where we are here.
Yeah.
So we've done the job posting description, we've got sort of, we'll call it version 1 for lack of a better title. And then any adjustments that we want to add to that as far as one thing we're gonna have to, at some point, decide when we get to that point, is what that window will be. But I think for a general job description, with that first version that's up here, I would move that we would adopt that as version 1.
What are we talking
of job
about now, the
description.
posting, or we back?
Posting.
Job
Yeah.
posting.
Okay, we haven't finished it then. We're gonna get back into that.
I know we just finished that whole conversation, Ken.
Right?
We went through, Jody did a great job, she
Yeah.
presented it all, she asked if we had any questions.
No, she
We all got
presented it
quiet
all.
for a
We
minute,
only went
and then we
through
went back
halfway.
through. So I'm gonna make a motion that we adopt this top job posting
The
as
first paragraph.
that first 2 paragraphs, the one that
Okay,
says that
yeah.
the town of Milford, and this one that says the ideal candidate,
And why are
as
we separating?
version 1 of a job posting.
And why are we separating that?
We gotta vote to adopt something.
Right,
Right,
we
for a job
haven't finished it yet. Why aren't we gonna finish it?
There's 2 different job postings.
No,
Oh, this is the
we're
second
only
version?
halfway
Yeah, it's
through.
a
I apologize,
Same
so
thing.
let's move on
Yeah.
then. With that red line, it appeared as though it was
No.
done with that one.
Okay,
That's
so we
fine.
got
Let's move on with that.
first paragraph is done, second paragraph, now we'll go to the essential functions, Jody?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Essential functions of the job include but are not limited to establishing department goals, objectives, policies, and regulations, directing and coordinating all department procedures, practices, and functions, providing leadership with a continued focus on building and enhancing relationships, implementation of procedures for hiring, performance management, discipline, and evaluation, cooperating with other law enforcement agencies for crime prevention and law enforcement, serving as the principal department representative, and plan and oversee the department's financial management system. The police chief is responsible for maintaining and improving the efficiency and effectiveness of all areas under her direction and control. Much of this is really taken from the job description.
Okay.
One comment, Jody, after, the 6th line down, beginning with the word enforcement, serving as the principal department representative, should that be a semicolon? Or should, I'm confused with the language, or should be to plan and oversee the department's financial management system?
I'm unsure where you are.
Yep, if you go to paragraph 3,
Yeah?
line number 6, beginning with the word enforcement. After enforcement, it says, serving as the principal department representative and plan and oversee the department's financial management system.
I think it should be another semicolon.
Yeah, I believe
Yes.
so. Please.
Are we all okay with that?
Yep.
Okay, Chief?
The chief is also responsible as a matter of general law, so the appointing where
Yep.
the police chief gets their powers. So they're responsible for supervision of the officers, supervision and direction of the officers, and maintaining the equipment and property of the department, and that's in the statute.
Chief, you would want that exact language in there?
Yeah, we should look at 4197A, so I can work with Jody tomorrow and just pull that language off.
What's that called?
Do you mind
Very brief.
repeating that?
So the police chief, where the police chief gets their authority is chapter 41, section 97A. So in that statute, it says that the police chief will supervise and direct the police officers, or the officers. And the police chief is the person that manages and controls the property of the department. So equipment and facilities. So, but I'll pull the actual language right off the statute.
Okay, so
I'll send it to you.
So the language with implementation of procedures for hiring, performance management, discipline, and evaluation don't adequately cover
No,
what
because you're directing them, so that's,
Yeah.
I want you to go do this. And, it actually says it shall obey his orders. We don't have to put that in there, because it's basically direction, so-
Yep.
So I'm responsible for, they're doing investigations, it falls on the person that oversees them, is where the responsibility lies. It's, believe me, very short sentence.
Oh, sure. Richard, do you have a question for the chief?
I was just gonna say that, or you could, I don't know, if you just put in the chapter and in section on that, and that, but it's just gonna be a short sentence, and it's not a problem.
Okay.
People that aren't from here,
They, yeah, they don't know that.
it's going big and.
So Tom, you can work with Jody
Okay, so-
and Maureen on that, okay?
So we'll add that,
Yeah.
you work with them.
Go to the next paragraph now, Jody's preferred candidate, Maureen?
The preferred candidate will have a master's degree in a related field and a minimum of 10 years progressively responsible experience in law enforcement and crime prevention, including 5 years in a command, and Dan, I'm going to change that from or to an and, supervisory capacity, certification as a police officer by the Massachusetts Police Training Commission required.
It's just a typo, committee.
Committee? Massachusetts Police Training Committee.
Oh, instead of commission chief?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's one of those odd ones.
yeah.
Must possess a valid driver's license. Other required qualifications include demonstrated financial knowledge, fiscal responsibility, and the ability to effectively develop and manage the department's budget.
Chief?
I-
Go ahead, no, Chief, then Don.
We don't have, we had discussed the preferred National Academy or advanced training, just as a preference, to put it in there. I just want to flag that because you actually have it in the shorter version. Go over to the next page, and I was going to touch on where it says required. Excuse me. Yes, it does say required in a very short one. So we'll touch on that when we get there, but just that whole thing about
As well as a nationally recognized
the FBI
executive.
National Academy or other nationally recognized training.
Okay, Donna?
My question is regarding the valid driver's license. I don't recall a decision, does that have to state Massachusetts?
Yes, should.
Yeah.
Yes, Scott?
I think with those pieces as well, I think even just taking the language directly from the job description, as an example, possession, and I picked up the driver's license piece as well. I think we actually changed the language slightly, altered the language slightly in the job description. I have to go back to it, so I don't remember exactly word for word was, or the ability to obtain one within 30 days of residency. Something, it kind of gives that.
That's the
piece.
statute, right?
That's the statute, right? So it's sort of reiterating that statute in there, so that way, because otherwise, again, not that I hope that it would, but it may also be, again, certification for a police officer in Massachusetts Police Training Academy, or ability to within a period of time that's reasonable, and I would defer to the,
Okay.
the statutes on that piece, just so that way, because we're gonna publish this nationally, we don't have somebody from California that says, oh, well, I can't apply, I haven't gone to Massachusetts, and I don't have a driver's license, so.
Richard?
Within 30
Yeah.
days of residency.
My only thought would be, no problem with that. I think it would be better to flip the paragraphs, and that the fourth paragraph, the preferred candidate, would be where the above essential function. In other words, we've told them about the community, then we're telling them, this is what the preferred requirements are. The last thing should be is what the functions are. I think it's that important that we have that, so that somebody's reading through this and they get to the third paragraph and a lot of them say, well, okay, I got that and fine. Or a lot of them might say, I don't have that, so they're gonna quit reading.
Yeah.
So, again, I just would make that recommendation that we flip those paragraphs.
Okay.
Oh,
Donato, then Donato, Danny?
Just to tie to the job description, third line down, 5 years in it says command the word senior should appear before it.
We voted that out last week.
I think, I read something tonight where it appeared someplace. We deleted it after supervisory capacity. I had it in twice. We left it in at senior command or supervisory capacity. I had 2 seniors there.
Okay.
And we eliminated one, that's what it was.
according to my notes from the last meeting, we have it with, in a command or supervisory capacity without the word senior before the word.
John, I can't hear you.
In my notes, I have that it was within the in a command or supervisory capacity without senior specified.
Okay.
Okay, Jody, back to you.
Are there any other comments on that particular paragraph?
Yes,
Richard, you have something? Richard?
I was just gonna make a motion that we accept the changes that we've discussed here.
One second.
Is there further?
Yeah. If you look at the job description, it's in the job description.
Yeah, that was a typo in the job description. It shouldn't have said senior. We actually voted to eliminate that specific word because it would potentially eliminate if we were to have a sergeant that would apply.
No, we voted to leave it in once. We deleted it after supervisor.
David, then Chris.
I was just gonna say, it's how it's worded in the meeting minutes from last week. It's senior's not in there, it just says in command and supervisory capacity is kind of the wording that was recorded by the secretary. And that's how I remember the conversation though.
yes, agreed.
I'm sorry, who else said, Donna?
Yeah. I agree that senior was not included, that we've decided to not include it in the, according to my notes and to the meeting minutes. My other comment is, in the job description, we have command and supervisory capacity within the last 10 years. Do we want to include that last phrase?
Donna, excuse me, you on
I think
page
we
4?
had it.
In the job posting?
I think that we had to be for 5 years within the past 10 years.
Right, it says including 5 years in a command and supervisory capacity within the last 10 years.
Right.
Yes.
I think it has to be. I mean, that's what,
Yeah.
Right,
that's what we agreed on. I think it has to be in the
Sure.
advertisement, otherwise.
Right,
right.
Agreed.
Yeah,
okay, so,
So that language can be pulled directly from the job description.
Maureen, you wanted to say something? I'm sorry. What about, you see where it says salary range and all that's crossed out with? Okay. See, now this is a contract. Usually these positions are on Article 2, but as far as the selectmen, they have 5 positions where they have a contracted position, like the chief is under contract. So we could, to make it understandable, once we put this out, that salary and based on education and experience, but it's a contracted position by the Board of Selectmen, right, Chief?
Yeah, it's negotiable.
Negotiable.
You use the word negotiable, and I would take the word generous out.
yes.
What you view as being generous might not be generous
Right, I had
to
that.
others. I mean, you know, as we've seen on the news, you know, captains in Methuen are making over $200,000. So, as a result of union negotiations. So, I don't think a captain in Methuen is going to view this position as being generous when they're making
Right.
220, 240,000.
Okay.
I'm not sure what we're talking about. So you're gonna put a figure in there?
No,
I would
No.
not.
You're gonna,
you're saying it's negotiable.
I understand negotiable. You're attracting people across the country. You gotta give them some idea to us to determine whether they're interested or not.
You give them the present Article 2 range.
Right.
And then you want
And
to
then
speak
have an
about.
asterisk that says it's negotiable,
It's
contracted
negotiable,
position.
Because there is the statute.
Yeah.
You know, 411080 is the right of a police chief to negotiate a contract. That
Yeah.
I've
Okay.
learned. The bottom line comes down is they have the right to come in and negotiate, and then beyond that, you know, you have educational benefits, you have holiday benefits, there's a lot of things they can negotiate off of that statute.
Okay.
And actually, I'm actually online I'm on one of the websites that we discussed this evening on Indeed. I'm looking at job positions. I specifically looked up police chief jobs in Massachusetts, and I'm looking at because of some of the positions that are posted here. And, some do have salary ranges, but there's ones that have there are ones where there really isn't. This is what the range is. Whereas this, you know, to the chief's point, is negotiated. Most of the positions that actually have salaries that are on here are for police officer positions where there's a starting range and it's up to the discretion of the chief of police. For their contracted positions, there's no salary listed. And I would tell you just from
As a practical matter, wouldn't you want to know what the salary is before you send in your resume?
as a practical, I mean, I think that's, I understand what you're saying, Dan. What I would say is many positions that are posted out there right now don't have salaries on there specifically for that reason. Because they don't want to say, so we get an ideal candidate get in there and we post them a range, we post a range for it. Well, the Board of Selectmen ultimately, as the appointing authority, can come back to the Personnel Board and ask for an exception. They find an exceptional candidate, they want to overpay. They go to town meeting, get approval for it.
It's not even that, no.
They don't have to go
No, they
back.
don't have to.
No, they
Right.
can
Negotiate a
ultimately,
contract with that
Yeah.
person, and
Yeah.
that's the contract,
they can pay them whatever they
as
want.
long as it's funded by town meeting.
Yeah, they can pay them whatever they want.
With the chief's recommendation is to publish the range and the words negotiable.
I would just say negotiable. I would leave it at negotiable. I wouldn't put a dollar amount in there.
We just had, City of Boston just hired a new superintendent.
Yeah.
And I was following that and reading it up. But anyway, basically, there was no salary. Their thing was negotiable.
Right.
They put down what the last superintendent made in one of the articles that I read. But this gal that, whatever her name is, I can't remember, from Minnesota, you know, she's sitting down with the school committee and gonna negotiate her salary. So I think that, and I you know, just periodically looked in the papers, Sunday papers for ads, and although a lot of them don't have it now because everything's online, but just to see what's out there and what people are looking for in that. And a lot of these big, high positions, CEO type of things, like chief, there's no salary listed.
It's a contract negotiation.
It's all contract negotiation, so
Yeah, Chris?
I
Did you have something,
recommend we
Chris?
stay with.
Oh, I'm in favor of having a range in there, and having what the current range is, just as a guide, because I agree with Mr. Neer there. I mean, if you're from Iowa, and I can understand everyone will do research, and you can very easily look up to see what chief is making right now, and I understand that. But, I mean, to sit there and pay for everybody to go through resumes, or us go through resumes if we don't use a company, get everybody to the point where we narrow down finalists, select and pick somebody, and then all of a sudden, they're just finding out now that we do not pay $270,000 for a police chief. So I think having a range in there, which is the current range, at least is a guideline, and then obviously, you have the negotiable in there, because that's, it's to Chief's point, whether it's holidays, education, all that kind of stuff, that is all negotiable. So I would recommend having a range in there.
Arrange with the proper language saying that it's a contracted position.
Of
and all
course,
that.
absolutely, but you at least need to give them some idea. Because obviously a chief in, you know, Hicksville, Indiana may only make $7,000 a year, you know, that's, to me, I think they should have some, at least some sort of idea what it is.
Maureen, then the chief.
I'm
Maureen?
just thinking one of the options might be that you have two options now. One is the range that says negotiable, the other is to not put anything and just say negotiated contract. And then when those companies come in, we can find out what's sort of standard practice. If you're going to go with a firm, you can find out what their recommendation is as well and have those two options available. Because if you don't want to completely tie down your decision on this until you speak with the company, maybe that's another search
They're
for
going to make the final
another
recommendation.
option.
Chief?
You're not tying yourself down. You're putting a ballpark figure out there, and you're saying it's negotiable, because education and holidays aren't negotiable. They're by statute. So I get paid an extra day's pay for every holiday by statute. I get paid my education by statute. So you're not negotiating whether or not the person coming in with a JD or a master's degree is going to get 25%. They're going to get it. And they're going to get 11 holidays extra pay. It's that basic. So to say, well, you know, we might consider these things, I'm just putting it out there that I think to put what Article 2 says, this is, but it is negotiable, at least they have a ballpark of, do I really want to apply for this job? Is it worth it to me? You know, as I said to you, a captain in Methuen is not applying to be the police chief in Milford. It's not happening. Not when he makes already $50,000, $60,000 more than the police chief in Methuen. And that's the reality of the circumstances out there. So I would say to you, You don't have to do it, simply because I say it, God knows that. I just think to give people, I agree with Ian, to give people a ballpark figure that's out there, that, hey, here's the parameters.
Yeah.
You might get more than that if you bargain the right contract.
So we can have both pieces of
I think you put both.
language in
That's,
there.
but if you disagree, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Because I remember 20 years ago, being in the office at the town hall, there were a couple of candidates called, and they wanted to know what the range was. And then we also explained that there's a range, but it's negotiable based on everything else, and then they were satisfied with that.
And to be perfectly honest, they're not gonna figure the range in Article 2,
Yeah,
the way it operates.
right.
You know, I mean, you don't get a pay increase. You move step by step by step over the years, but you don't get a cost of living on that any longer until you get to the last step. So there's so many variables in there. I think just putting the range so they have an understanding of here's where it could start and here's where it potentially finishes today, but you can negotiate something different.
Okay. Anything more on the matter?
That's all I have.
Joe, so try to put that in here, okay? The range and negotiable.
If the committee disagrees, that's fine.
Yeah, no, it's good
No, I'm
discussion.
not sure, because there were folks
well,
that disagreed with that.
Yeah.
And if the majority disagrees, I'm willing to move on,
Yeah.
you know?
Just to put something down.
Don't do it because I said it.
Yeah,
What about if we said something like this, current salary and put what the current salary is and then put negotiable? So that,
Current salary range.
well, not a range, just that chief is making X, Y, Z, that's the current salary, and then put,
The difficulty with that is you're coming in to bargain your contract, and because I make this doesn't mean you're necessarily going to make it. You might have a
That
different,
might be misleading.
so that's my own
all
concern.
right, that's fine.
because Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the top step now, Article 2 is 127, something like that,
More
for
than
chief.
I honestly, Article 2, I haven't looked at for so many
Yeah.
years, because I went
But
past it.
it's just talking about the range, but it's
Yeah.
higher than that, sure.
It's less than what I make.
Yeah. Oh, sure, yeah, oh, no
So
question.
I think, but then it's a matter of, you know, you look at, I just think to put the range and say, here's what the range is, but it is negotiable.
Sure,
And the person knows they have a shot to come in
Yeah.
and make a pitch.
yeah,
So perhaps we can put salary negotiable and then what's the range?
sure, something like that.
I would do it in the reverse.
Yeah,
Here's
I
the
think
range,
the range and then-
Okay.
Right.
however, it's negotiable.
Yeah,
And it's negotiable by the Board of Selectmen. It's the Board of Selectmen's purview and authority to do that. Because there are 5 positions: fire chief, police chief, town administrator, the town council, and the finance director. Okay, can we move on? Okay,
And then I added that comment about educational incentives offered under the Quinn bill.
yeah. Scott?
Chief, by referencing the Quinn bill, does it make sense, is that enough content? If I'm a police chief and,
Yeah, we can reference the statute.
yeah, would it make sense to you, I mean, especially if this is electronic, a couple of these things, could we just have a link that goes directly to it as well? Wouldn't it make, I think it would make sense that way, it cuts down on this being a 9-page job description.
Oh, no, right.
Make it an active link,
No,
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
if you can click on the statute, you're
Yeah.
based on your own education level. But we're requiring a master's, so you look at 25% anyway, but if they want to know what that is.
Yeah, it gives them that information.
So I'll add a link to that, just Quinn bill.
Yeah, and have that be a link to what the statute is, so that way, when we reference it, people that are not local may not understand it, just so they get that.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it Quinn bill, I call it, because, I mean, they named it because it was simply, you know, before he was the Attorney General, he was the person that put the bill for the legislature, Attorney Quinn. I would call it educational incentive, which is exactly what it is. So I'll get the statute to Jody.
Okay. Okay, good question. Yes,
So would the language for the education just say educational incentives offered, period?
Yeah.
and going back to the first sentence, so it would be the salary range, and then do we need to include benefits package, or is that implied? And would we just say that salary is negotiable based on qualifications and experience?
I just say negotiable.
Negotiable.
Period.
That's understood.
We've already told them the experience we expect, we've told them the education we expect,
So we're going to
Just leave
strike
that in.
all of that other language that's presently
Yeah.
there.
and then negotiable.
Scott?
Going back to the salary range thing, if ultimately the majority of the committee chooses that's what they want to do, when you put a salary range on there, when it's a top and when there's a bottom and a top to it, so it truly is a range, and then says negotiated next to it, it can be implied or inferred by the applying candidate that it's negotiated within those parameters that you're putting top and bottom on, which is not accurate, because it can be negotiated again. So that would be the only component I would say is starting salary. We can put something as simple as the bottom end of the range, or 100K plus, and then that puts a dollar amount in there, so at least they have an idea of what they're getting into. The likelihood of us hiring the next police chief at $99,000, $999.99 or less is unlikely. But it does truly, it puts a base on it, so at least they know they're walking into a six-figure salary. So to your point, Chris, if there's somebody in the middle of the country that's making $70,000 a year, they go, ooh, okay, I get it. We're talking about a six-figure income here, or better. That would be my only piece, is that when you look at that, when you put a range on it versus starting salary at a minimum of, we could do that, or putting a dollar amount plus,
But the flip to that is,
could be less.
no one in Massachusetts is going to apply if you put the minimum salary and say that's negotiable.
I agree. I would say 100 plus. If you just put 100, if you put 100K plus, salary negotiated 100K plus, something along those lines, or that's something that implements. If we want to put a dollar amount in there, yes.
I'm going to say, if you put the minimum salary,
We'll get applicants.
you're not going to get applicants
I agree
in
with you.
Massachusetts. And the reason being, I mean, if you take the difference in what a lieutenant makes compared to a sergeant in this town, because the sergeants are unionized, I wouldn't want to be a lieutenant. It's not worth it.
So to that point, that's, again, my initial piece was don't put the range, the dollar amounts on there at all, in an effort to, try and, take under advisement what a number of other people brought in. If we want to put a dollar amount in there, I would say we want to put just the minimum and then put plus next to it. I would still go back to it's negotiated, because I think it's 100% negotiated. And when you put a range on there, you put the word negotiated afterwards, it can be implied by the applying candidate that range is what it's going to be negotiated between those two
And I think,
variables.
Scott, you're saying the minimum, not the minimum of the range, the minimum of what the town would be willing to pay?
Well, I'm saying just throwing out a
No,
dollar.
because now you're negotiating, you're taking from the Board of Selectmen their ability to negotiate a contract.
So I'm
You don't
going to take
have
the
that
dollar amount out
authority.
completely.
You don't have the authority. Article 2 is Article 2. That's the range that's been established by the town for this position. And my humble opinion, if you put just the minimum, you're going to lose a lot of candidates. Because I'm telling you, the difference between the pay rate of lieutenant sergeant in this town is a couple $1,000s. It's not big dollars, all right? Because he's in Article 2, the lieutenant, okay? And the union crept up, so the compression there is significant. And that's an example. If you tell someone here's the minimum, I'm telling you, there are sergeants out there in Massachusetts that are making more than that. They're making a lot more than that. So, we're trying to attract people that are in some cases, in unionized positions, captains, that have the qualifications. They're giving up overtime, details, the rest. So if you don't give them that salary range and say, you can negotiate from the top, because they can. Article 2 was established if you don't have a contract.
Yeah. Richard?
I think, it's a good compromise that we put the salary range and then negotiable. Thing is, somebody looks at that salary range and they're gonna say, I can live with that, with those figures. They're gonna look at the high figure, of course, not the low one, because that's what we all do. Unless you're buying a car and then you want the low figure. But no, for this situation, so I think that by doing that, I think it's a better situation. In person, we're not, hiding anything. This is what the range is, and then it says negotiable. We get somebody in here and we interview them. The candidate could very well say to us while we're interviewing him, after interview, and said, you said, that the salary is negotiable. And they could say, well, what does that actually mean? And we say, well, if you're selected, you have to go before the selectmen and negotiate your salary. And it puts it in their lap. So then they've got to say, okay, if Scott gets the position, then he goes before the selectmen and he says, look, I think I'm worth more than $180,000, and this is the reason why, and what I'm bringing to you. And that's what negotiation's about. And so I think by we're letting people know this is what it is currently, and you can negotiate. And so, and that's on your responsibility to do that.
Okay? When we hired the guy from New York, it was a similar situation. Well, it was the same situation where we had a range and we said negotiable, all that with the Board of Selectmen, and that worked out, as far as getting a salary and all that. So I think what the chief said and some of you said, we want to try to get the maximum amount of qualified people, and if we put it like that, a range, Article 2, and then negotiable by the Board of Selectmen.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move to make a motion that we adopt the changes that we discussed, flipping the article, the paragraph, and then all the other changes that we put in.
Okay, Judy? Yeah,
Second.
Donna? Motion by Richard, seconded by Donna. Any discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, good.
Okay, so you'll work with Maureen and get all that. So that basically, if we have this by the 21st, we
Yep.
vote on it, we have it. And if we bring in the other firms at that point, then we go from there.
Yep. Okay. Maureen, Jody, anything else we have to? Job description's all done?
What long are you doing the other two?
Oh, the short ones? Well, since we have the longer one, right? And if, let's say, from what the consensus so far is, I would really like you to interview Badge Quest on the 21st. I mean, these guys, these people are very professional. They've done it hundreds of times. They have a tremendous success rate. It's a Massachusetts firm. If you look at his bio on this page, I mean, it's pretty impressive. He's a lawyer. He's been to every academy, FBI, and all that. Has worked very closely. And the thing that he told me that was most important was, hey, listen, it's not a one-way thing here. If the committee hires us, we'll come in, we'll explain what we do, the areas of our expertise. If the committee members would like us to do some other type of function and incorporate that into making it personal for the town of Milford, we'll do that. We're very open. We have a tremendous amount of experience. It's worked out. Our track record is very high, and I think this. I mean, just talking to the guy for 15, 20 minutes twice. I mean, I was quite impressed, and I think that this firm could be at least one firm that we should talk to, and he'll be able to help us out with all this other material, because they've done it numerous times.
Mr. Chairman, given that, do we also give the same opportunity to mirror?
Yeah, whatever the committee wants to do, That other company, Maureen, can you just give us some information on
The
that?
other company, so I spoke with that gentleman as well, and I think
Yep.
Dino sent out all the information. Their proposal from a cost perspective is pretty much the same, although They describe themselves as full service, where Badge Quest talked frequently about the ability to customize for the needs of the town. Nira said, we're a full service company, we don't usually vary from that so much, but it's something they were willing to talk about for sure. They didn't include an assessment center from what I gathered, and I apologize, do you folks have the copies from there? Okay. So that information is there. The challenge we have with them is they are not a Massachusetts-based company. If I recall, they may have an office in New Hampshire. The gentleman I spoke with was from California. Most of the places that he, or other positions that they filled were California-based. So I did question him to say, do you even work in Massachusetts? How familiar are you there? And he said, oh no, we've done that as well. So they definitely have some familiarity. If we're going to bring them on the 21st, I'm not sure what cost there would be to get someone to come in from wherever. It's something we have.
Nothing,
They'll come in fine. Okay, so that doesn't matter.
pursuing business.
Okay.
That's on their dime.
Okay.
So I would say if we could, I mean, I would like to do more than one just for comparison.
Sure.
And if they'll come,
Yeah.
they'll call him and see if he can come on the 21st and.
Yeah. So I think I may have said, I talked to Badge Quest today. He's all set with the 21st. He'll have a, slide presentation, whatever we need. And we can try to see if that could come in on the 21st as well. Scott?
So, Mr. Chairman, I would just move that we, to Dr. Heller's point, and I completely agree with him. I think just only hearing one, even though it sounds like there may be some differences, I would personally like to be able to at least talk to two firms.
Yeah.
And even if the other company can't meet us on the 21st, have them attend the future meeting when they can, so that way we have the opportunity as a committee to be able to at least have a comparison between two.
Okay, yeah.
So that we can make an informed decision on it.
Yeah.
And again, if we can get them both on the 21st, obviously that would be ideal, but at the
Sure.
very least,
Okay.
not the 21st, what's a later date that we can get that done.
That's good. Donato?
The cost involves about $10,000. Do we have to go out to bid? What is the bottom?
20.
20, so what's that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. If you look, it's $10,995, and then an assessment center for 5 candidates, $6,800. I'd strongly recommend the assessment center. I've been involved in
Right.
processes of this nature and valuable.
Yeah.
And then lastly, you have to do backgrounds,
Oh, yeah, no question.
as you had indicated early on.
Are
So
we okay to contract with these guys, is the bottom line?
you are if you seek 3 written quotes.
If you,
Seek 3 written quotes from 3
what's
vendors.
the word?
Quotes.
What's the word before that? Did you say?
Three.
3. Seek 3 written quotes from different vendors. Now, if they don't respond, that's accounts.
Okay, so I have it clearly in my mind. We cannot contract with anybody without going out to others.
I'll get you the actual statute.
That's your
bid law.
perception?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll also check with town council.
Okay.
Maureen, didn't you say there were 2 other
So that's
firms?
what I was just gonna say. So there are 2 other companies that, but prior to getting the name from you, I had mentioned last time we were here, 2 other companies, I can reach out to them and ask them to put quotes as well.
Okay. Would you document that, Maureen, so that we meet what the chief thinks it is?
Absolutely. There are 2
So
companies.
say
just-
even if they don't respond, we've met whatever was supposed to.
Correct.
Absolutely. Just so you know, one is called Resource Management Associates. They're an executive search service. And then Municipal Resources Incorporated, also an executive recruitment service. Both of them have been used by towns within Massachusetts. That's why I looked a little more into them. I don't have a quote from them, but I will reach out and get that from both, and that way you'll have 4 to work with.
And you have, the quotes have to be, they don't have to be exact, right? But they have to be comparable. So,
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, if you're going to buy a car, you really can't say, oh, I want a Ford 150. You want a pickup truck, and you want it to have these components. and let 3 companies come in and tell you, here's what I'll give it to you for.
Exactly. So what I did with both of these was just let them know the process so far, that a committee has been formed. You're in the process of doing the search. We are at the point of reviewing job descriptions and job postings, and we've not gone any further. And then just asked, what do they offer? And then each of these companies just sent us the material.
My suggestion, Marty, would be to take what Badge Quest sent you. You know, we're willing to do this for this, and then we're willing to do the assessment center, and we're willing to do the background, and say to the others, will you do these things, and if so, how much?
Okay.
And that way you're
Comparing the
it's a
same.
fair comparison.
Without the price,
You make a
right?
judgment.
Right, yeah,
They won't, no, don't give them Badge
No,
Quest.
no, of course not.
No, just out of curiosity, with many things and other, and it's just for understanding, when you go out to bid for other projects, there's in many cases an approved list of providers that are out there. Do we know, is there an approved list that's already out there for?
I'm not sure, I'm not sure.
It may be something to look at.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
And with the bid, and to your point with going out to bid, in some cases, there's a minimum dollar amount that we are required to go out and bid. So I know you guys are going to check the town council and check the statute on that.
You absolutely have to get quotes.
Yeah.
Let there be no doubt. You're just under the 20,000. Now, if someone comes back over that, they went over it. That's not an issue. If you do have one quote that is under the $20,000, I'll get to everybody. I'll scan it and send you just a quick cheat sheet on,
Yeah.
you know, the public bidding law. As far as, you know, preferred companies, that's when you get into this situation of sealed bids. So now I'm over the amount, okay, and I can go to someone that's already out there. So Commonwealth of Massachusetts went out, and, well, when we buy cruisers, I don't bid cruisers. It's done regionally, and I pay to the town of Plymouth $150 to be in their little thing, and I pay $100 to Greater Boston Police Council to be in theirs. Whichever one has the best price on the car, that's where I go. So it's worth the $250.
Yeah.
But likewise, we do that with ammunition and we're buying firearms. So there's approved vendors, but they've been approved because a bid went out there that's valid. This is a situation, and I'll pull up the statute, but I'll also pull up the sheet that comes from the Commonwealth that breaks it down. When you hit this point, you have to do this. When you hit that point, you have to do this.
Yeah.
And I think we're within the number based on this is under 20K that we can just go get 2 more quotes. But you have to seek them in writing and get back. You know,
But we don't have to go, and I'm glad you're gonna send that out, just because otherwise, once you get above a certain dollar amount, then you gotta go out for RFP, you gotta do, I don't think we're at that dollar amount, but I do think, I agree, we do have to get multiple bids, but we just gotta see, definitely.
I don't believe you're going to find any of these companies on the state bid list. You know, in other words, the Commonwealth went out, or someone else went out in a regional way. You know, by way of example, the city of Waltham is the regional point for buying ammunition. And, you know, they decided that they wanted to get a good price, and they went out and created a bid in which they pulled in another 20, 25 communities. As a result, that's a valid bid. You know, and again, I had to jump on that bid, and it's minuscule in dollars, like $100. My point being that I don't think you're going to find this type of service because they try to tailor their services to each community's needs. And why are they going to lock themselves in, you know, in that way? They've done service. I know they've done work for the Commonwealth. They've done it for HID, which is civil service. But I think, again, in that situation, it was a quote.
Okay, so, yeah, I'll also check with Attorney Villani. He does this all the time, working with Chief and Town Council. So we'll invite Badge Quest and the other ones.
And then I'll get the quotes from the others, and then we can
Okay.
determine.
Yep. And we'll set up, is it okay if we start at 6 o'clock on the 21st? Just in case we have 2 or 3.
You're gonna serve dinner here?
Excuse me,
You're
Richard?
gonna serve dinner?
Yeah, I'll bring stuff in. Yes, we'll have something. We'll have some pizza, okay?
I make a suggestion, we give them some sort of an agenda, like a, kind of a timeline for their presentation and stuff like that.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, we'll have to,
Yeah.
depending
I
on
mean,
when
yeah,
they're coming
just so,
in,
you
sure.
know, it's not
Yeah.
a 4-hour thing to go
Yeah.
to 2 people or something, right?
Sure. And hopefully we'll have
We don't wanna look
2 or
at
3
100
people.
slides.
Right, no. All right,
It's gonna be 4 hours, I wanna go first,
yeah, right,
because nobody's gonna be here for the
yeah.
last.
Okay, so I think we've done okay, we're moving along. Other business, nothing, correspondence has been nothing. In the next meeting, go ahead, Dan.
In the minutes, it said we appointed you so that you could sign all the documents, financial documents.
When the bills come in, I guess.
I got that, but
Yeah.
we also said that you had to bring them before the committee.
Absolutely.
I understand that, but the minutes didn't reflect that, as long as we all understand that.
Oh, yeah, no.
The committee has to approve the bill,
Yes.
but he can sign it.
Yeah, yeah, Dan, I've done it many times, I would
Yeah.
never do that.
No, I just wanted them to understand.
Yeah. Anything else before we adjourn? Okay, great. Motion by Scott, seconded by Chris to adjourn. All in favor? Unanimous.